Okay, have you lived in a unit or a townhouse where you've got an evil strata manager? They do exist. Stay tuned.
I'm the ringleader, so listen up.
Good morning.
Hey, Billy, how are you?
I'm good. A little bit of a sore ankle, but I'm good.
What happened to your ankle?
Played some frisbee last night, Mark.
Oh, that's a crazy sport, man. People die playing that sport.
Yeah, it's fun.
You survived?
Oh yeah, it's minimal contact. It's all about the fun. Great sport.
Who are you playing frisbee with? Your mum?
The local Manly crew. No, it's a club. I don't play with the dog.
It's a professional club that plays frisbee.
Spot on.
Topic.
It's the good thing about living in a city. There's something for everyone. You don't get that in Perth.
Yeah, it'd be a good place for you, being a single guy as well, to pick up a nice girl playing frisbee.
Well, you'd think so, but most of the clowns are like me. The topic, yeah. This is a crazy one. We've got some good stories.
We've got some wicked stories. I'd love to know, people out there, if you've got any stories you want to share. It is a live show. You can make comments as we go along. But Billy, I guess from the top, like, strata living's very popular, and sometimes a strata manager or a chairperson on a body corporate can take their job a little bit too seriously. They can take the powers they have, or think they may have, a little bit overzealous. And in the news overnight, there's a particular what happened there, Billy?
A particular block in Queensland. The chairperson decided to cut the electricity to one of the units in a block of 50 as the tenant's son was driving his car on common property.
So, I guess it's someone overstepping their authority a little bit, and I think, first of all, you'd find that someone like the chairperson has a key to the meter box. They've abused that privilege, and the reason why they have a key to the meter box is not to cut people's power off, but it's in emergency purposes, to isolate power to a building in case of danger, or just access for electrical stuff that needs to be done. But what a tosser.
Yeah, and there's some seems to be there's stories like this, not just about electricity, but right around the place. You've got a few?
Yeah, look, it's I think I had a particular one in Brookvale, which was very interesting, because the whole committee ended up resigning on the back of one guy, where it was. I think sometimes people don't know what they're doing as part of their authority, like being a chairperson, a secretary on a body corporate. So in case you don't know how body corporate works, with body corporate, when you buy a unit, you own the airspace of your unit. That's one title. You have a title to the airspace of your unit. When you buy a unit also, you have a second title, which is a common title. It's a title in common with other owners for common property. So common property, believe it or not, is regarded as the bricks in the wall, is regarded as the plumbing in the wall. So when you buy a unit like you've just bought, Billy, you own your airspace to your unit, and you don't own the bricks in your wall. You own the bricks in everyone's wall. So it's a joint ownership that you all have. Now, there is money that comes and goes out of that body corporate. Someone has to be governing that. we generally will employ a strata manager and pay them a small percentage to manage the affairs over the entire year, to make sure that insurance is paid, to make sure the building stays clean, to make sure that repairs and maintenance are done on the building, and to make sure the kitty or the sinking fund and the administration fund are in good order. They have a responsibility to do that. Now, what Body Corporate does is says, well, we want to interface with you guys, so we want to know what you want done. So we want to have sort of like a mini committee before that we can report to, and that mini committee that sits on the board are voted by the unit owners of the building. Now, the problem is that generally, say if it's a building of 50, they vote a committee of 4, 5, 6 members. There has to be a chairperson, and there has to be a secretary, which does more that money side of things. They will meet on a regular basis and with the strata manager and talk about what they need out of the building and answer the questions. But they have a fiduciary duty to act in the best interests of everybody in that building, not their own interests. And this is where it crosses over with messes like this and messes like some of the ones we're going to talk about today.
Agreed. They do a lot of work. And like Luke said, you do have to take your hats off to them, because a good strata manager, like a good property manager, it makes a huge difference. And people do cut corners. And from a property manager's perspective, when you're dealing with a pleasant strata manager, it makes a world of difference.
Huge. It's a hard job, because generally the only time you hear something is when it's a bit like property management or the service section of a car dealership. You're generally only talking to those guys when you've got a problem. So it's being a strata manager is a very, very tough job. But abusing that power as a strata manager, I see less. But abusing that power as a chairperson or someone sitting on a strata committee, I see more, because they don't understand. They're not professionals in that duty. They haven't been trained or qualified or coached into that position. They've just been voted in. So to give you an example, I had a building that we were managing some property in, where it was a new building, and they had repairs and maintenance to get done by the builder who built the building, and the guy that was chairman of the body corporate thought it would be a good idea not to let the builder back to fix his repairs.
Crazy.
In 400 repairs, and you can't come and fix the repairs. So much so that when the guy did force himself on site, the builder, to fix the repairs for all of the people in the building, that the guy called council and complained about the location of where he was putting his cherry picker to fix electrical and stuff in the building, and got thrown off site.
Okay, do you know where I think maybe some of the issue lies, Mark, is obviously you've got some people that live on site and also play part of that committee. I think, like you said, sometimes these people are not professionals, and their personal emotions, personal involvement in the building, living there, gets slightly crossed up with their duty as a manager.
Yeah. Personality conflict?
Yeah, potentially. We've had some bad stories of tenants that don't get on particularly well with some owners in the block. And the owner feels like they have the upper hand a little bit, having communication with the board on the owner's corporation, and then almost threaten that.
Yeah, and look, I think people that's a really good point. I think when it comes to body corporate, people often act like the tenant doesn't have the rights of the owner, just because the owner doesn't, just because they're not owners in the building. But I think that these chairpersons and secretaries and committee members. I think everyone's just got to realise everyone's got to get along and get together.
Yep.
Couple of comments here from Luke. Poor strata managers dealing with water welting defects, whinging owners, community members not wanting to increase. It's a really hard job being a strata manager. And I take my hat off to these guys. Today's not about beating them up at all. It's about talking about people that overstep their authority, whether they're strata managers or on the committee, and maybe check on the feedback for tomorrow, Billy.
Yeah, it's a big topic. Another thing that I want to ask you, Mark, is what can an owner do to make sure that their strata company is the best one for them? Because if you're in a big block of 50, it might be hard to have the say of, look, we should get rid of this guy. He's obviously overstepped, done the wrong thing. Because it's a process not many people will know about. Like, how do you select your strata company?
Look, I think real estate agents are a good measure of good strata companies because we're dealing with them on scale. So if we're managing, 1,500, 1,600 properties, there's 1,000, 1,200 units in there. There's a lot of different unit blocks. We know the strata managers that are proactive and the ones that are not proactive. So often owners are asking us our opinion and can we recommend someone out there. But the process to replace your strata manager is pretty much a voting system. It's a little bit political where you get together with other owners in the building and decide for change if the building is not going to be run in your interest. If it's a 50-50, generally it's your chances are going 50-50, but you may find unanimously people say, yep, let's change. We've been beaten too many times by this strata manager. Equally, it happens with body corporate committees. And I have seen body corporate committees resign or step down because of the pressures of everyone in the building, and that committee get replaced just simply because they can see that it's not working. It's that committee is not acting in their, or member is not acting in their best interest. How would you know that someone that you're voting onto the committee is going to do the best thing for the building?
That's it. Yeah, like I said, those it sometimes gets a bit crossed where people stop acting in everyone's best interest, but sometimes do it for themselves.
Yeah. I remember in DY we had an aggro guy managing a large building. He went crazy with cameras. He went crazy sitting on the CCTV cameras and checking everything. He went crazy making sure people didn't park in visitor spaces. And that was actually really good for people on the body corporate. But it was almost borderline creepy. So he ended up getting a bit greedy with how much money he was asking for. He ended up getting a bit falling into some bother on taking some owners in the building with commercial property to tribunal because the owners ended up using visitor spaces that were part of the whole building. That made him really angry. And they replaced him. And that's the process. Everyone just sort of got a couple of years down the track and thought, this started off really cool. He was keeping everything in perfect order, but he sort of started overstepping that authority as a building manager on the behalf of the body corporate.
And it does make it unpleasant living for owners, even more particularly tenants. At the end of the day, it is important as an owner to be proactive about making sure you're across what's going on in the building. If your building becomes renowned for someone who's got a crazy building manager that hands out fines for parking in visitor spaces and things like that, your property is going to sit vacant. It doesn't matter how cheap or nice it is.
It's got to be harmony. It's got to be harmony. Yeah. It's got to be done nicely. But you know what? It's the same with the police. It's the same with the police force. You can have a police officer that oversteps their authority. In balance, it's a hard job. I love the police force. You know what? But sometimes you do get someone that's too quick on the trigger or too pushy. It works with same works with strata managers, same works with building managers, same works with committee members on a strata, and everyone's just got to get along. That's the main thing.
That was well said. I do.
You
Yeah.
just
The only other thing, Mark, is I've noticed my camera is a little bit high, and I feel like I've been trying to do this one the whole episode.
Yeah, I think when you've got someone that's 6'10" doing the episode before you, you just got to remember. You got to remember to come in and adjust the camera.
Yeah, that's it. Signing off.
So if anyone doesn't know, Charlie, who does Wednesday morning minutes, is 6'10", so he's always pushing the camera up.
And now I can see the rise. It's keeping me on my toes.
Have a good day, Billy. Strata managers, it does happen. You're not alone, people, if you're there, but you can change your strata manager. I think that's what we learned out of today, or you can change your committee if, on balance, you get you get the votes.
Yep.
Cheers, big ears.
Ciao.